Hello everyone and welcome to session 3 on reading comprehension. So let's recapitulate what we have done so far. We talked about exam like CAT, exams like SNAP. We talked about variety of questions. We talked about speed reading. We talked about problem faced by students. We talked about some of the sources from where CAT takes the reading comprehension passages. So this is what we have done so far, and in the last video we also see one of the passage wherein I have taken the passage from CAT 2017 slot 2, and the idea of taking that passage was that when I was talking about those questions, implied idea questions, specific idea questions, further application questions, tone based questions. So what are those questions? And I've got various, there were various questions from the students, and we discussed at length about what to do, what not to do. And thanks for letting me know that explanation is very much explanatory and it is beneficial for you guys. So keep chatting with me, or wherever you are concerned. I'll be happy to share your concern or answer your concern on our Telegram group. So today what we'll be doing is, I've specifically taken the passages. So as I said, how to approach RC passages. So reading comprehension के अंदर when I'm talking about passages, how to approach or what should be the approach. Because in my first video I talked about that we have to prioritize my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 1, 2, 3, 4 whatsoever. How to prioritize those passages, how to tackle those passages, how to attack those passages, whether I need to complete, I have to attempt all the questions, or there are questions where I need more time, or there are questions which I need to be left out. So all these things we'll talk about in the session today. So today what we'll do is we will see the retention part of it. In my passage 1, when we were solving it, we were talking more or less about, without going to the passage, how can we solve that. Today we'll be talking about, there are lengthy passages. Yes, you can expect these in the exams like Nasimuji or sometimes in even CAT and SAT. In those lengthy passages, I just want to understand. So it's a combination of short and the long passages. Long passages have a number of questions which are more, and whether those questions are easy, tough, moderate, whether you are able to, how much you are able to retain whatever you have read. So in some of the passages or in some of the questions, I'll be removing the passages so that you should not refer to those. We'll talk about all those things in this particular video. Let's start in the session 2, how to approach the passages. And the first is passage number 1. Sorry for that. The passage number 1 is given to you. It's a short passage. Let's start. So for reading these short passages, so as I do every time, I will give you the time, and with that time only you have to stop the video. And please guys, ensure that you should not stretch the time. You should exactly start the video and the time which I am mentioning. So for this particular passage, I would say 4 minutes and you should stop. Okay, I'm sure you must have given the 4 minutes to this particular passage, and you have read whatever important information was there. You must have comprehended. Let's understand what exactly is the main idea, what author want to say, what meaning this passage want to convey. Fashion is different. We know that, sir. Fashion is different from custom. It's different from custom. The first point, very important point, fashion is different from custom. Or rather is a particular species of it. It's different from custom, or it is one of the species of a custom, right? But not necessarily a custom. It doesn't like that. It's a custom which is going on throughout the years, and that is fashion. It regularly changes. Probably custom doesn't, right? I'm just trying to explain here that what exactly author want to say, not necessarily what is given in the passage, right? So it's a particular species of it. That is not the fashion which everybody wears. Now the second thing which author is saying, the fashion which we understand in the layman language is what we wear is a fashion. I'm wearing a round neck, a crew neck t-shirt is a fashion. Or someone is wearing, let's say, a flowery shirt is a fashion. Not necessarily. It is not which everybody wears, but which those wear who are of a high rank. So if Priyanka Chopra is wearing, that's a fashion. If Deepika Padukone is wearing, that's a fashion. If Steve Jobs is wearing that a fashion, or for that matter, if Ratan Tata is wearing that's a fashion, right? So it's not what everybody wears, it's what with the high class or elite class wear. But which those wear who are of a high rank और करेक्टर. जो लोग हाई रैंक या करेक्टर के होंगे वो जब वियर करते हैं उसको हम लोग फैशन बोलते हैं, राइट? द ग्रेसफुल, full of grace, right? The graceful. So what they are saying is full of grace, the easy, and the commanding manners of the great. So specifically they are mentioning three things: the graceful, the easy, how comfortable you are, how graceful you look, and how commanding you look. So all these manners of the great, joined to the usual richness and magnificence of their dress, give a grace to the very form which they happen to bestow upon it. Now let's understand what this passage or what this line is talking about. वो क्या बोल रहे हैं? We are talking about the commanding manners of the great. For example, let's say talk about Mukesh Ambani. The commanding manners of the great. He's of the highest rank. The commanding manners of that. The easy, the graceful he looks, and uske upar, when you add, joined to that usual richness and magnificence, जब आप dress wear करते हो, और वो dress जब आपको grace करती है, and that's what becomes a fashion. That's what becomes a fashion. Fashion is not what I am wearing for this particular video. Fashion is not what I wear in the party, because we are talking about the elite rank here. Okay? As long as they continue to use this form, it is connected in our imagination. So, जब तक Steve Jobs grey t-shirt पहनेंगे, black t-shirt पहनेंगे, जब तक Mark Zuckerberg वो grey t-shirt पहनेंगे, that is something which is connected in our imaginations with the idea of something that is genteel and magnificent. Genteel का मतलब होता है very smooth, very graceful. That is genteel, right? And magnificent, big, very big, right? So जब तक वो लोग ये चीजें पहन रहे हैं, तब तक वो जो imagination है wearing, if Ratan Tata wears a suit, so that imagination is there of a commanding person, of a graceful personality, of a magnificent personality, that becomes the fashion, right? And though in itself it should be indifferent, it seems on account of this relation to have something about this that is genteel and magnification too. So वो क्या बोलना चाह रहा है? Now, the idea of something that is genteel and magnification, and though in itself it should be indifferent. It should be indifferent. Fashion अपने आप में indifferent है, वो एक जैसा दिखता है. It seems on account of this relation, ये जो relation हम लोग बता रहे हैं magnificent और graceful के साथ, it has something to do with genteel and magnificent too. So fashion and the personality both have to do something with the easiness and the magnificent of it. Both of them. As soon as they drop it, कौन? The high rank wala people. As soon as they drop it, it loses all the grace. Sara grace lose ho gaya, which it had appeared to possess before. If let's say Salman Khan wearing a bell bottom, if he drops it, here we go, the grace is over, right? So if let's say Vidya Balan stop wearing saris, the grace is over, right? I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so which it had appeared to possess before, and being now used only by the inferior ranks of people, और उसके बाद जब आप use कर रहे हो, it is only used by inferior ranks of people, seems to have something of their meanness and awkwardness, और तब हम उसको बोलते हैं छोटे लोग या फिर awkward kind of thing. But जब high rank पहनता है, तब हम उसको fashion बोलते हैं. A very beautiful passage which is given here. Let's go to the question here. Okay, a smart and a sweet passage. Now, this smart and sweet passage, let's see the question which they have. The question on your screen is, which phrase would be the best title of the passage? Again, going back to the passage won't really help, as I said. Which phrase would be the best title of the passage? Let's go to option number 1. Proletariat fashion models and fashion shows. Right? So, which phrase would be the best title of the passage? We are talking about fashion shows. We are talking about specifically to models. It is making my option too narrow. It is making my option too narrow because I'm sticking to fashion models. We are talking about a commanding, a graceful personality, right? So I don't think this should be my answer. Let's move to the other options. Option 2, courage of fashion. दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट फैशन का किस तरीके से स्करेज हुआ है, किस तरीके से फैशन खत्म हो जाता है. That's what they are talking about. But again, this is a narrow option because they are not mentioning here who wears what. They are not mentioning here about the high rank. और जब ये लोग इस चीज को ड्रॉप कर देते हैं तो क्या होता है? Both the main idea is missing here. The scourge of fashion is not the right thing here. Too narrow. They are only talking about fashion किस तरीके से machine lose कर देता है. That's not the context here. यहाँ पर वो सिर्फ बात कर रहा है मॉडल्स की. The clothes make the man. Nope. The clothes make the man. No, not at all. It's the man makes the clothes. It's the man makes the clothes. Because if let's say Steve Jobs started, मेरी बात करने वाला था. If let's say Ratan Tata start wearing a bell bottom and a t-shirt, that's what fashion is. So the man makes the clothes. Predicting, so we are not predicting any fashion trends. We are not predicting any fashion trends. I repeat, मैं repeat कर रहा हूँ, logic पे ध्यान देना, मैं क्या-क्या चीजें बोल रहा हूँ. First thing, मैंने यहाँ पर इसको narrow option बोला है because we are only talking about models. यहाँ पर models की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप high rank की बात कर रहे हैं. Second, courage of fashion. Fashion किस तरीके से machine lose कर देता है. Narrow option because best title of the passage. We are not talking about why. We are not talking about why in the second question. The clothes make the man. No, because हमने बोला है highest rank जब इसको उतार देते हैं तो fashion किसी काम का नहीं है. तो ये उल्टा हो गया. It's the man who makes the clothes. And nowhere in the passage, right from here till here, we are predicting anything. We are not predicting anything. And hence option D is the right answer. I hope you have got it. And let's move to the next question. The next question is, which is nearest to the central idea in the passage? Which is the nearest to the central idea of the passage? Let's go. Fashion improves the grace of the person. Fashion improves the grace of the person. उसने क्या बोला यहाँ पर? The graceful, the easy, and the commanding manners of the great, joined to the richness and magnificence of their dress, give a grace. So इनका graceful, इनका easiness, इनका commandingness, ये तीनों जब फैशन के साथ ऐड हो जाते हैं तब ग्रेस होता है. Again a narrow option. Again a narrow option. Let's go to 2. Grace is indicated by the fashion adopted. No. Grace is not indicated by the fashion adopted. Grace is indicated by the one who is wearing it. Grace is a characteristic of imaginative person. No. Again out of context. Nowhere we talked about the imaginative person. The contemporary nature of a fashion जो चलता आ रहा है portrays the society out of context. And the last option is grace is a reflection of the person, rank or a character. My main idea. We are talking about here the high rank. That's what the main idea. पूरे पैसेज में हम high rank की बात कर रहे थे. वो मेरे चारों ऑप्शंस के अंदर कहीं पर भी एक्सप्लोर नहीं हो रहा. And wherever I am marking the word society, I am marking the words imaginative. I am talking about grace as a word. यहाँ पर मैं आपको ये बताना चाह रहा हूँ because ये words के अंदर कुछ ना कुछ problem है here, तो उस वजह से मैं उसको eliminate कर रहा हूँ. So that was the passage. 2 good questions. I would say this is a good passage and there were good questions and very close options here. Let's move to the next option. Next passage. And your time starts now. This is continued. There are 2 slides here. And for 2 slides, I am giving you roughly 7 minutes. Exactly at 7 minutes, you should stop and start. You should start the video again. You can stop at this point of time. And exactly after 7 minutes, you can start again. Okay, I'm sure you must have read the passage in 7 minutes. Yeah, I know it's long passage, but not, I've not seen this much of a passage or this length of a passage in last 5-6 years in CAT, but yes, we have other exams too, and we need to practice also. आपको practice करना पड़ेगा. मैंने क्या बोला था, ये वो passage है जहाँ मैं आपके test करना चाहता हूँ how good you are in retention. So when you solve the question, जब आप question solve कर रहे होंगे, आप वापस passage पे नहीं जाएंगे. That is the promise which you have to give to yourself before starting this, starting to solve the questions for this particular passage once I am done with explaining the same. Okay. Let's talk about this. When talks come to how India has done for itself in 50 years of independence, the world has nothing but praises for our success in remaining a democracy. First line. अब बात कर रहे हैं जब हम लास्ट 50 साल की बात कर रहे हैं, जब हम लास्ट 50 साल की बात कर रहे हैं इंडिपेंडेंस की, वर्ल्ड के पास कुछ भी नहीं है but to praise for our success, for what? For कि हम लोग अभी भी डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री. I'll just circle, mark the important things here. On the other fronts, the applause is less loud. अब यहाँ पर author क्या बोल रहा है? यहाँ तक तो सब सही था, but बाकी fronts के अंदर the applause जो उनके लिए praise है, another fronts for applause, I mean praise is applause or laud. It's less loud. वहाँ पर ज़्यादा praise हमारे पास नहीं है. In absolute terms, अगर overall देखा जाए, India hasn't done too badly, of course. In life expectancy has increased. वो क्या बोलना चाह रहा है? So they started off with democracy के अंदर हमारे पास praise है, but other fronts के अंदर जो praise है वो इतना loud नहीं है, but इतना loud नहीं है. India hasn't done too badly. India ने कुछ ज़्यादा बुरा नहीं किया, of course. Life expectancy increase हो गई है, right? So has literacy. मतलब life expectancy मतलब हम लोग कम मरते हैं, right? And COVID is not in our control. So as literacy, हमारा literacy rate बढ़ा है. Industry which was barely a fledgling का मतलब होता है छोटी इंडस्ट्री जो grow कर रही है, right? Which was barely a fledgling industry has grown tremendously, right? And as far as agriculture is concerned, India has been transformed from a country perpetually to the edge of starvation into a success story held up for others to emulate. So what they are trying to say is कि इंडिया के अंदर बाकी चीजों में भी अच्छा हुआ है, बट वहां पर लाउड थोड़ा मतलब दे आर नॉट इतना ज्यादा प्रेज नहीं हो रहा है, बट इंडिया ने वहां पर गलत नहीं किया है. दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अ लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट फ्लैजलिंग इंडस्ट्री, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एग्रीकल्चर, एंड दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इन एग्रीकल्चर कि एक टाइम जहां भूख मरी थी, स्टारवेशन था. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, वी आर एग्जाम्पल फॉर अदर्स टू इम्यूलेट का मतलब कॉपी करना, मिमिक करना, राइट? That's what they are talking about. So in this first paragraph, author is very much full of praises. The tone, if I talk about the author, is a panegyric tone for, let's say, India. Okay, next. But these are competitive times when change is rapid. Here we go. But, however, now author is getting into something which is really we need to understand. वो क्या बोल रहा है? When the change is rapid, change होता जा रहा है, and to walk slowly when the rest of the world is running is almost as bad as standing still or walking backwards. So क्या बोल रहा है? When other countries are running, we are kind of walking slowly, right? They are running, we are walking slowly, and that's very bad because change is rapid, and they are talking about it is as good as you are standing there or you are even walking backwards. So you need to move fast, okay? Compared with large chunks of what was then the developing world. So they are comparing with the developing world at that point of time. South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, China, and what was still lately a separate Hong Kong. India has fared abysmally, not that great. It began with a far better infrastructure. So when we begin, so यहाँ पर उसने बोला इंडिया ने इनके कंपेयर में कुछ अच्छा नहीं किया. When we began with a far better infrastructure than most of these countries which we have mentioned in the second paragraph. We are not doing good as compared to them, but when we started, our infrastructure was the best compared to these countries. It suffered hardly and not at all during the World War II. ना तो इंडिया के पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की कमी थी, ना हमने कहीं पर सफर किया, और ना ही हमारे पास वर्ल्ड वॉर सेकंड के अंदर ज्यादा इंपैक्ट आया. That was the case with all the other countries they have mentioned. It had advantages like an English speaking elite. So when China is facing this problem, or Hong Kong or Thailand is facing this problem, or Japan is facing this problem, we don't have this problem because we have people who is speaking English, right? We have a quality scientific manpower. Till date हम लोग बात करते हैं, we have one of the best scientifically manpower. When we talk about technology, IT, the example is there in front of you, including the Nobel laureate and others could be ranked among the world's best. and excellent business acumen. We know that, right? So, recording this video today, India is third largest when it comes to the number of unicorns, and it is one of the largest developing countries when it comes to the number of startups which are registered in India. Okay. Yet today, when countries are ranked according to their global competitiveness, it is tiny Singapore that figures at the top. India is nowhere there. It's Singapore, which is very small as compared to India, and and considering all these things are there with us. Hong Kong is an export powerhouse, so they are talking about Singapore, which is a global competitiveness edge. Hong Kong, an export powerhouse. So is Taiwan for exports. If a symbol were needed of how far we have fell back, note that while Korean CEOs are sold in India, no one in South Korea is rushing to buy an Indian car, which is a fact. We are here talking about buying an MG Hector, or here we are talking about buying a Ford car, or here we are talking about buying other foreign manufacturing cars, Kia for that matter, Hyundai for that matter. But in those countries, there are far less people who are starving to buy a Tata car or something like that. Okay, the reason lists themselves, and the reasons are many. The topmost is economic isolationism. Very important, guys. Main idea. मैं शुरू से मेन आइडिया को फोकस करूं यहाँ पर, मैं कुछ चीजें मैं इंपॉर्टेंटली मार्क करूंगा. We are talking about we have an infrastructure. We are talking about we have not suffered due to this. In spite of that, we are suffering. And then we are talking about economic isolationism. The government discouraged imports. What is this economic isolationism? We discourage imports. Why? Because we thought that हम लोग आत्मनिर्भर भारत, right? So encourage the self-sufficiency. Whatever the aim was, उसका aim क्या था? That's irrespective. The result was the creation of a totally inefficient industry. I don't know whatever the aim was, but उससे हुआ क्या? Puri industry inefficient, and that failed to keep the pace with the global trends and therefore become absolutely uncompetitive. Only when the trade gates are opened, a little did this become apparent. The years since then have been spent in merely trying to catch up. तो वो क्या बोलना चाह रहा है? हमने किया. We have done that. But पहली बार वो बंद क्यों किया था? We don't know what was the reason. But उस वजह से हम बहुत पीछे हो गए, और अब हम लोग सिर्फ we are just only trying to catch up rather than there's a time which we have wasted जहाँ हम बहुत आगे हो सकते थे. Whatever the reason was. Then the government actually sheltered its industrialists. Government ने उन industrialists को shelter किया with foreign competition. It's a little strange. Government should not do that. Let them be competitive. It's a little strange thing. For in all other respect, it operated under the conviction that businessmen were little more than crooks. वो क्या बोल रहा है? For all in other respects, it operated under the conviction that businessmen were little more than crooks. They know that businessmen were little crooks. They have that conviction. In spite of that, you kind of sheltered them. Okay. Who were to be prevented from entering the most important areas of economy, who were to be hamstrung in as many ways as possible, who were to be tolerated in the same way as in the excisable ward. In सबके बावजूद we sheltered them. The high expropriators rates of taxation, the licensing laws, the reservation of whole swaths of industry for the public sector, blah blah blah, वो सब कुछ गवर्नमेंट को करना चाहिए था, और गवर्नमेंट ने वो कुछ नहीं किया, सिर्फ उसने अपनी वेल्थ को वेस्ट किया. गवर्नमेंट के पास बहुत अच्छा वेल्थ था, उसने सब वेस्ट किया इस सब चीजों को. They should have opened the gates for economy far earlier than they did. Let's continue. I know it's a slightly long paragraph, but that's what you need to do. And specifically for the students who are not from a business background, or who are not much business background in the sense not from commerce or BBA background, or they are not much aware about the current affairs, you should study all this stuff. Some of the manifestation of the old attitude have changed. Now they are saying some of the attitudes have changed. How they have changed, what exactly have changed, we are talking about that. Let's talk about what has changed and why. Tax rate have fallen. Now what they are talking about is tax rate have now fallen. गिर गए हैं tax rate. Licensing has been all but abolished. Licensing abolish कर दी है, tax rate गिरा दी है, and the gates of global trade is now open. पुराना होगा पैसे जाएंगे इससे. but most of these changes were forced by circumstances, by the foreign exchange bankruptcy of 1991 and the recognition that government could no longer muster the funds to support the public sector, leave alone expand it. ये सब कुछ हुआ, but it's not government wanted it. It's because of the circumstances. The circumstances are the 1991 bankruptcy. The circumstances are government are no longer able to muster the funds. They don't have funds, and public sector को expand करना तो जरूर वो उनको sustain भी नहीं कर पा रहे थे. And the same is still happening when we talk about Indian Airlines. Okay. Whether the attitude of the government itself or that of more than a handful of ministers has changed is open to question. क्या change हुआ था, कैसे हुआ था, it's still open to question, but this was the circumstances were the only reason. In many other ways, however, the government has not changed one bit. अभी भी government ने कई चीजें तो change नहीं की. Business still has to negotiate a welter of negotiation. अभी भी हम लोग, हालांकि many things have changed in the last 6-7 years, but business को अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा negotiate करना पड़ता है. Transparency अभी भी question mark है, and there is no exit policy. In defending the existing policy, politicians betray an ability to see beyond their noses. Politicians have a very myopic view when they are talking about inability to see beyond the noses, which means they can only see it in the nose. They have a very myopic view. They don't have a very broad view to the things. A no exit policy for labor. So now they are talking about ये किसके लिए बात कर रहा था वो no exit policy के लिए. वो क्या बोल रहा है? A no exit policy for labor is equivalent to a no entry policy for new business. मतलब ये no exit policy जो तुम देखते हो, हम लोग यूनियंस की बात करते हैं. We talk about trade unions, we talk about labor unions. जहां आपने मारुति का देखा हालत, जहां आपने टाटा की हालत देखी, you have many examples in front of you. No exit policy नहीं निकाल सकते. अब जब no exit policy है तो वो क्या बोल रहा है? There is a no entry policy for new business also. If one industry is not allowed to retrench labor, other industry will think 100 times. अगर एक इंडस्ट्री अपनी लेबर को नहीं निकाल सकती है तो बाकी इंडस्ट्री 100 टाइम सोचेंगे बिजनेस में आने के लिए. In other ways too, the government hurts industry. So this is one part of it जहां पर government hurt करती है इंडस्ट्री को, and the other part is public sector monopolies like the Department of Telecommunication and विदेश संचार निगम. ये again पुराना पैसेज होगा, but the point is this is what was the reality. We have the monopoly कि हम यहाँ पर ये चीज नहीं करेंगे, और उस monopoly के हिसाब से भी कुछ जो इंडस्ट्रीज हैं या कंपनीज हैं वो कभी बाहर नहीं, कभी ओपन होके नहीं आ पाई. Make it possible for Indian business to operate only at the cost several times, और इस वजह से हम लोग शायद वो profitability नहीं बना पाए. The infrastructure is in shambles partly because it is unable to formulate a sufficiently remunerative policy for our private business, and partially because they don't have the stomach to change market rate for services. So these are all the other reasons why we are not so much competitive. And the last, after a burst of activity in the early 90s, the government is dragging its feet. अब पहले burst हो गया, अब again हमने एक slow pace में चलना शुरू कर दिया है. At the rate it is going, it will be another 50 years before the government realizes that a pro-business policy is the best pro-people policy. But then हम लोग बहुत पीछे हो चुके होंगे और बाकी countries बहुत ज़्यादा आगे होंगे. So that was the whole idea. Get into the depth, and when you get into the depth, I am telling you the questions which now we will do. एक बार आपने पढ़ लिया है अच्छी तरीके से, मैंने आपको समझा दिया है, अब शायद हमारे को पैसे पे जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़नी चाहिए. Let's go to the question number 1. So the writer attitude towards the government is, writer का attitude, so मैं जो बोल रहा था हम anticipate करेंगे. So writer का attitude towards government is negative for sure. ये negative है for sure, जिसमें उसने बोला कि 50 साल और लग सकते हैं. ठीक है, okay. Sarcastic and derisive, ये दोनों सेम चीजें. Derisive is also satiric, किसी को टोंट मारना. यहां पर उसने किसी को टोंट नहीं मारा है, ऑथर ने सीधा सादा शब्दों में, it's not taunting. So sarcastic, the base of sarcastic is when we are talking about taunting or mocking. यहां पर उसने साफ स्पष्ट शब्दों में बोला है कि गवर्नमेंट और पॉलिटिशियंस की गलती है. They can't see beyond their nose. They have specifically mentioned that. सो दैट्स एन आयरनी. आयरनी क्या होता है कि ये सब होने के बावजूद भी ऐसा है. आयरनिकल एंड देन द क्रिटिकल. नाउ अंडरस्टैंड आयरनी. कई लोग स्टूडेंट्स इस क्वेश्चन के अंदर आयरनी मार्क करते हैं बिकॉज व्हेन वी टॉक्ड अबाउट डिस्पाइट ऑफ द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, डिस्पाइट ऑफ इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग एलाइट, देखो आई एम रिटेनिंग, डिस्पाइट ऑफ अ बिजनेस एक्यूमेन, हम लोग नहीं बढ़ पाए. इसलिए लोग बोलते हैं सर ये आयरनी तो है, व्हाई आर यू नॉट मार्किंग आयरनी? यू आर राइट, योर कॉम्प्रिहेंशन इज ऑल्सो राइट, बट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट गवर्नमेंट. But they are talking about government. The author attitude towards government is he is critical, he is harsh, he is caustic, he is vituperative. ये सारी चीजें भाई साहब के लिए, गवर्नमेंट के लिए यूज करी है ऑथर ने. क्लियर? राइट? ओके, लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. The next question is, so first one was a tone based question. The writer is surprised at the government attitude towards its industrialists because, let's retain, क्या बोला था? उन्होंने बोला था कि इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को शेल्टर क्यों किया? Despite of you knowing they are crooks, despite of you knowing that it is not healthy for the economy to let them enter into all those things, then why the writer is surprised at the government attitude towards industrialists? The answer is this, जो मैं बताना चाह रहा हूं. Let's see. The government did not need to protect its industrialists. Too extreme. ये बहुत एक्सट्रीम हो गया. राइटर इसलिए सरप्राइज नहीं है. राइटर ऐसे नहीं बोल रहा है कि इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को छोड़ दो, इनको मर जाने दो. नहीं. It's a government responsibility to take care of its people, take care of its business. So the author is not surprised that government को protect नहीं करना चाहिए. ऑथर इसलिए सरप्राइज है कि तुमने उसको ग्लोबल कॉम्पिटिटिव एडवांटेज के लिए क्यों नहीं लाए? क्यों तुम उनको और नहीं लाना चाहते हो? क्यों तुम उनको और क्रूक्स बनाना चाहते हो? बी ऑप्शन. द इश्यू ऑफ कंपटीशन वाज नॉन एग्जिस्टेंट. इट वाज देयर एंड ही इज नॉट सरप्राइज्ड बाय दिस. लेट्स गो टू ऑप्शन नंबर सी. द गवर्नमेंट लुक्ड अपॉन इट्स इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट एज क्रूक्स. यस, दैट्स व्हाट द आंसर इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. ही इज सरप्राइज्ड that government looked upon his industrialists as crooks. Despite of that, the attitude is that you are sheltering them. What kind of explanation government can give? What kind of explanation government can give? Author is surprised to know that. And D is, the attitude was a conundrum. No, it was not a conundrum at all. Right? So, it's out of context. So, that's why option C is the right answer. Okay, let's move to the next question. The next question is, the government was compelled to the economy. Again, let's go to the retention mode. Government was compelled not because उनके politicians का attitude change हो गया था या government ने कुछ attitude change किया था. It was because of, yes, you guys are right, it was because of circumstances. Let's see, circumstances are there. Here we go. Option number C. हमने बात की थी 1991 की बैंकरप्सी की, and we talked about कि वो PSUs या उनके पब्लिक सेक्टर जो उनके फंड्स हैं, वो पब्लिक सेक्टर को एक्सपांड करना तो छोड़ो, उनको वो सस्टेन भी नहीं कर पा रहे थे. That is what it is given. C option. Let's see others. Pressure for domestic market, there was none. Pressure from international market, there was none. So that's not their option, and that's why we'll go with option number C. Okay, let's move to the next. Guys, though I am explaining, I hope when I'm saying let's move to the next, जब तक मैं question बोलता हूँ, try to solve on your own, pause for a while, and then you can continue when I'm solving, right? The next question on your screen now. The writer ends the passage on a note of. राइटर ने पैसेज एंड किया था. अगेन लेट्स रिटेन. वी टॉक अबाउट, ठीक है, अब हम लोग काफी कुछ चीजें अच्छी कर रहे हैं. हमने 1990 के अंदर अगेन ये सब कुछ कर दिया, बट देन वी स्टार्ट मूविंग एट अ वेरी स्नेल पेस, धीरे धीरे पेस पे, एंड विद दिस पेस it will be another 50 years. Let's see. So it will be another 50 years. That's definitely not optimism. That is definitely not optimism for sure. So that is what? That is pessimism. They started with the pessimism, right? It's a very pessimistic tone. Pragmatism क्या होता है? भाषणबाजी करना. Pragmatism क्या होता है? When I am डिक्टेट करना किसी को, दैट इज pragmatism, राइट? ऑप्टिमिज्म इज पॉजिटिव, पैसिटिज्म इज नेगेटिव. दिस इज ऑप्टिमिज्म बट along with किसी को अलर्ट करना कि ठीक है बट अलर्ट हो जाओ. सो इट वाज अ प्योर पेसिमिज्म. 50 साल और लगेंगे, बोल दिया मतलब बोल दिया. लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट. सॉरी फॉर दैट. Okay, India was in a better condition than other Asian nations because infrastructure. Infrastructure was one of that. It did not face the ravages of the World War II. Yes, true. It was given. Okay. It had an English-speaking populace and a good business sense. True. It was given. It had enough wealth through its exports. No. Yes, it should be answer D. It should be D. Right? That was given. इस क्वेश्चन को हम लोग बोल रहे हैं फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चन. अगेन, अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है, कई बार मेरे जैसे टीचर या मैं ही आपको बोलूंगा कि फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चन हो तो पैसेज पे चले जाओ, बट अगर एक बार पैसेज को ढंग से पढ़ सकते हो तो आपको वापस पैसेज पे जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. मैं यही एग्जांपल आपको बारी बारी देने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं. लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट. The major reason of India's poor performance. India का poor performance का major reason क्या था? The first is given economic isolationism. साफ साफ दिया हुआ था, right? You are not opening the gates for a global competitors to come in. Second, economic mismanagement. Okay, inefficient industry. So this was given. Oh, sorry, so I guess it's B, C, D. Sorry. Okay, so economic isolationism. It's given. The major reasons of India's poor performance, economic mismanagement, inefficiency. So I will go with A. Obviously, the major reason when we are talking about it is nothing but economic isolationism, right? That was one of the major reason for the same. Again, a fact-based question. Again, a fact-based question. Let's move to the next, and the question is here. One of the features of the government protectionist policy was government ने इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को प्रोटेक्ट किया, इंडस्ट्रीज को प्रोटेक्ट किया. और वन ऑफ द फीचर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, किस तरीके से प्रोटेक्ट किया उन्होंने, किस तरीके से प्रोटेक्ट किया, फटाफट बताओ किस तरीके से प्रोटेक्ट किया उन लोगों ने. इन एनकरेजमेंट ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स, डिस्करेजमेंट ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट्स. उन्होंने किया है डिस्करेजमेंट ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स. Discouragement of imports was the major reason. So this is what I have explained through this particular passage, that how you need to retain an information, even if it is a fact-based questions. This is what you need to understand. This is what you need to practice. And it's a process again. ये एक साथ नहीं आएगा. You have to solve more and more RCs. अभी hold करो with me, at least listen to the next 7-8 more videos. Practice those RCs with me, and then there will be lot of quizzes after every video. After even videos are done, there are a lot of tests, section tests. You have Make My Test coming up, and in Telegram group also I'll be keep pushing more and more reading comprehension passages. So keep practicing, and you will get a hang over on the RC. So let's move to the next passage. The next is, here we go, start. And for this passage you should take not more than 7 minutes. So take 7 minutes for this particular passage. Okay, I'm sure you must be done you must be done reading this passage. Let's again start with this. So if I talk about passage 1, 2 and 3. Passage 1 again was moderate, I would say easy to moderate. Passage 2 extremely easy, lengthy, easy, number of questions again more, and it was an easy passage. Let's analyze passage number 3. A common technique for training AI system. Again, artificial intelligence we are talking about. So if you see passage number 1, related to fashion, related to trends in fashion, it was more or less kind of, society के हिसाब से, it was the passage related to the society at large. The second was more or less about economics. The third is technology. Okay. A common technique for training artificial intelligence is to throw a variety of stimuli at people simply for the purpose of measuring their emotional response. Now, यहाँ पर मैं आपको एक example देना चाहूँगा. Just hang on for a while. वो क्या बोल रहा है? A common technique for training AI system is to throw a variety of stimuli at people simply for the purpose of measuring their emotional response. वो क्या बोल रहा है? आप जब आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एलेक्सा, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट गूगल थिंग, राइट? या फिर हम लोग जो गूगल सर्च करते हैं, व्हेन यू हैव दैट वॉइस सर्च, वो क्या बोल रहा है? You throw a variety of stimuli of response to this Alexa, Google thing and all. The kind of response which you will get is a stimuli for this AI system. Why this Google voice search is getting traction? Because आने वाले टाइम में AI हो जाएगा वो सारी चीजें. Why YouTube के अंदर, if you see the caption coming up, because they are trying to read the psychology, the different kind of accent which Indian have or a Japanese have or a Chinese have. That's all artificial intelligence. That's what they are talking about. AI system is to throw a variety of stimuli and just to ensure to measure their emotional response. By tracking and analyzing their responses, machine develop even more sophisticated psychological maps. अब तुमने ट्रैक किया, मेजर किया, मशीन इसको और रिफाइन करेगा, मशीन इसको और रिफाइन करेगा और more sophisticated psychological map of people, and in the process become emotionally savvy. And this is the process how artificial intelligence have become emotionally savvy, because by getting the stimuli from the people. The COVID-19 pandemic has killed that slightly old 2.7 million people. Now it's have crossed 3 million. It has killed 2.7 million people and resulted in the worst economic contraction in a generation. Worst economic contraction. If I talk about India, we are contracting at a rate of, I think, 7%, more than 7%. But the optimism of the West Coast tech elite remains undimmed. West Coast, right? We are talking about states and all. वहां पर हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. वो लोग अभी भी बहुत ऑप्टिमिस्टिक हैं टेक को लेके, एंड वो क्या बोल रहे हैं? दे आर अनडीम्ड. वो बोल रहे हैं अभी टेक का फ्यूचर इज एनॉर्मस, इट इज ग्रेट, इट इज मल्टीफोल्डेड. द फ्यूचर कैन बी ऑलमोस्ट अनइमेजिनेबली ग्रेट, एज सैम ऑल्टमैन, हु हेड्स an artificial intelligence research company, wrote in a recent essay. Moore's law for everything. Here everything we are talking about Moore's law. Like many tech evangelists, Altman argues that we are on the brink of AI-induced productivity explosion that will shower abundance on all. वो क्या बोल रहा है? इस तरीके की ग्रोथ होगी, abundant ग्रोथ होगी, जो कि हर इंडस्ट्री पे अपना इम्पैक्ट डालेगी. It will shower abundance on all. The AI-based growth we are talking about. When robots start inventing better robots, we will achieve Moore's law for everything, not just computing power. जब robots आएंगे, वो और robots बनाएंगे. It will keep on increasing. Many of those who work in the field of AI themselves think that AI is overhyped. अब वो क्या बोल रहा है? यहां तक तो वो बोल रहा है AI. भाई साहब, AI सब कुछ है. Hang on. Many of them जो क्या बोल रहे हैं that AI is overhyped. ये overhyped सी चीज है. Eric Larson, author of a forthcoming book called The Myth of the Artificial Intelligence, is the one. He is one of that guy जो बोल रहा है कि it is an overhyped thing. क्यों? He is critical in many of the false narrative around AI, जो कि ये बोलता है machine super intelligence is somehow imminent. कि मशीन का जो सुपर इंटेलिजेंस है वो एमिनेंट है, वो उसको धिक्कारा नहीं जा सकता, सबका बाप है. AI system that can soar in one narrow domain still have a hard time jumping off the ground in others. वो क्या बोल रहा है? तुम आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की इंडस्ट्री में बात कर रहे हो, नॉट नेसेसरली इट विल वर्क इन ऑल, एज मिस्टर ऑल्टमैन इज सेइंग दैट इट will give you a growth in all the sectors, not necessarily. It will have a hard times in others as well. AI systems that can, autonomous cars. So what they are saying, for example, IBM's Watson, he's dead by the way, have won the quiz show Jeopardy, but it failed to cure cancer. Right? We can't cure cancer. A few years ago, autonomous cars seems to be just round the corner, but they have now difficulty in understanding between a turning bus and an overpass. वो क्या बोल, अभी भी अगर तुम देखोगे, we are talking about Tesla ने driverless car बनाया है, but अभी भी there are challenges related to that. Daily basis पे in the news, if you see, you get many news around that. यहाँ accident हो गया, इसको मार दिया, ये कर दिया. There's a news which is floating around. That's still not a plausible solution. Okay, there is an odd cognitive dissonance between the reality of what we are doing and the science fiction debates you see about AI. There is a difference between them. Says Lasser, what worries him more is the spectra of jobless future from mindless automation. ये सब कुछ चीजें ठीक है, he is still okay with that, but वो एक चीज के ऊपर सबसे ज्यादा वरी कर रहा है, and the worry is the jobless future. इस mindless automation जो हम कर रहे हैं, jobs नहीं रहेंगी. From where government will give jobs to its people, that's what we need to think about. Science is one part of it. There is a very cognitive dissonance here, right? Artificial intelligence might have the potential to change how we approach tasks and what we value. If we are using AI to our thinking, for us, employing AI atrophy to our thinking skills. So क्या बोल रहा है? That artificial intelligence, it might have the potential to change how we approach tasks. और हम क्या वैल्यू करते हैं, क्या नहीं करते हैं. If we are using artificial intelligence to do our thinking for us, अगर वो हमारे behalf पे think करना शुरू करेगा, employ AI might atrophy our thinking skills. ये हमारी thinking skills को destroy भी कर देगा. The AI we have at the moment is a narrow AI. वो क्या बोल रहा है? At this point of time जो artificial intelligence हम बात कर रहे हैं, that's very narrow. It can perform only selected specific tasks. And even an AI can perform as well as or better than humans at certain tasks. It does not necessarily achieve these results in the same way that humans do. AI is good. There is no bad thing about AI. अच्छी बात है AI करना, but जैसे humans काम करते हैं, इसका result not necessarily वैसा आएगा. It can be a change also, right? One thing that AI is very good at is sifting through masses of data at great speed. एक चीज जिसके अंदर AI बहुत अच्छा है कि वो स्पीड के अंदर बहुत बड़े डेटा को कंक्लूड करके आपके सामने रख सकता है जो probably human can't. Using machine learning, an AI that has been trained with thousands of images can develop the capacity to recognize a photograph, but humans do this very differently. A small child can often recognize a cat after just one example. AI को बहुत ज्यादा पिक्चर्स कैट की दिखाओगे तब जाके वो बताएगा ये कैट है, बट किड को शायद एक बार कैट दिखा दोगे वो बता देगा. दैट्स द डिफरेंस व्हिच दे वांट टू टेल अस, दैट एआई इज नॉट नेसेसरली द आंसर टू ऑल योर प्रॉब्लम्स. ओके, digital technologies can do more and more things better than us by processing increasing amount of data. All you need to do is give the data. We are not talking about thinking power. Give them the data. They are best at it, right? What they are saying is they can do things better than us by processing increasing amount of data and improving their performance by analyzing their output as input for the next operation. So next time you don't have to give them the data, they will then compute themselves because one time we have already shared with them. AlphaGo, the computer program developed by Google DeepMind, won the board game. So I'm sure recently there was all the things which was going around कि Google ने chess के अंदर जो the champion of chess उसको हरा दिया. How? Because Google ने सारे possible moves को ऑटोमेट कर दिया, डेटा को डाल दिया और कंप्यूटर ने अपने आप वो मूव्स लगा दिए एंड चैंपियन डिफीटेड, राइट? सो व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज दैट दिस वाज द न्यूज़, यू शुड टॉक विद सच अबाउट इट. won the board game Go against the world best player because it could use a database of around, so उसने 30 million moves, where it is उसने 30 million moves को उसके अंदर स्टोर कर दिया था and play thousands of games against itself, learning how to improve its performance. अब वो क्या बोल रहा है? It's like a two knife system that can sharpen itself, right? What's the difference? The same as between you and the dishwasher. वो क्या बोल रहा है? आप जब बर्तन साफ करते हैं and जब dishwasher साफ करता है, what's the consequences? That any apocalyptic vision of AI can be disregarded. AI, we should make AI environment friendly. Shall remain for any foreseeable future. The problem not our technology. हर चीज का solution सिर्फ technology नहीं होगा. So we should concentrate on the real challenges. We should make AI environment friendly and human friendly. It should be used to treat people always as ends, not mere means. ये आपका रास्ता नहीं होना चाहिए, ये आपका मंजिल होना चाहिए, ना कि रास्ता. We should make AI stupidity work for human intelligence. Millions of jobs will be disrupted, eliminated, created, and the benefits of this should be shared by all, and the cost should be borne by the society. We should make AI predictive power work for freedom and autonomy. And finally, we should make AI make us more human. So the passage is majorly about artificial intelligence, how it is not the only solution. There are negative sides to it, and it is a cautious call. It is a kind of caution thing which author is telling us. Be cautious when you are trying to implement the artificial intelligence. Let's move to the questions now. Slightly long passage. Let's go to the question on what assumptions. Now we are talking about assumptions. Have some experts claimed that artificial intelligence is wanted? Now here vocabulary will play a very important role. Please start your answer. Start mentioning your answer. Pause the question for a while. So what they are saying is, क्या assumption है जहां पर some experts claim कर रहे हैं that artificial intelligence is wanted. It's not that great. One, artificial intelligence give us false delusions and is supposed to make human life filthy. घटिया कर देगा human life and is basically on false delusions. That's too extreme. That's too extreme because उसने positive बातें भी करी हैं. उसने positive बातें करी हैं. वो कई चीजें डेटा को बहुत जल्दी प्रोसेस कर सकता है. वो चीजें बहुत अच्छी तरीके से कर सकता है. नॉट नेसेसरली द वे ह्यूमंस डू, बट इससे नॉट नेसेसरली कि वो हर फील्ड के अंदर अच्छा हो जाएगा. वो अच्छा है बट हर फील्ड में अच्छा हो जाएगा ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. और ऊपर क्या बोला है? फॉल्स डिल्यूजन्स. सो दैट्स टू एक्सट्रीम. लेट्स गो टू ऑप्शन नंबर 2. Artificial intelligence is bound to contract the automation, leaving people jobless. Very specific, very narrow. वो क्या बोल रहा है? सारे लोग हर इंडस्ट्री के अंदर चला जाएगा. एवरी इंडस्ट्री. यहां पर सिर्फ तुम ऑटोमेशन की बात कर रहे हो. अगेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अ नैरो ऑप्शन. सी, our reality is still disconnected from the claims AI makes, which makes it difficult to predict further outcomes. So क्या बोल रहा है? AI जो प्रिडिक्ट कर रहा है, जो मैं आपको बोल रहा था कि AI अभी भी बोल रहा है कि हम ये चीजें कर देंगे, बट नॉट नेसेसरली वो सब डोमेन में कर सकते हैं नहीं. एंड दैट्स व्हाट द असम्पशन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, कि हमारी रियलिटी स्टिल डिस्कनेक्टेड फ्रॉम द क्लेम्स जो AI बोल रहा है. हम बोल रहे हैं ऐसा नहीं हो पाएगा और AI बोल रहा है शायद हो जाएगा. दैट्स द असम्पशन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस इज बाउंड टू गिव अस अ जॉबलेस फ्यूचर. ही इज बाउंड टू डू दैट. I don't know whether he is bound कि तेरे को करना ही होगा. नहीं कर पाया तो क्या करोगे? So it was not at all what experts were saying. We are talking about what experts, on what assumption experts are saying this, and the assumption that we are still disconnected from what AI is claiming. Right? Let's move to the next question, and the question is here. The question is, what according to the passage led us to the upcoming deterioration of the human race? वो क्या बोल रहा है कि जो अपकमिंग डिटीरियोरेशन ह्यूमन रेस का आने वाला है वो कौन करेगा? What according to the passage will lead us to that? Okay, humans will start becoming thoroughly dependent on AI to fulfill their jobs. To fulfill their jobs, task differently, not to fulfill their job. Right? वो क्या बोल रहा है? और thoroughly dependent, वो क्या बोल रहा है? वो thoroughly dependent हो जाएंगे उसके ऊपर. नहीं, द आइडिया वाज वो जॉब लेस हो जाएंगे. वो जॉब लेस हो जाएंगे, वो उस पर डिपेंडेंट हो जाएंगे, उस वजह से डिटीरियोरेशन होगा. नहीं, वो जॉबलेस हो जाएंगे, उस वजह से डिटीरियोरेशन होगा. Humans will make AI a substitute for their minds. Here we go. Let me take you guys to the passage again. Just a minute. Let me take you guys to the passage again, where it was mentioned. So what they're talking about is that employing AI might atrophy our thinking skills. ये हमारी thinking skills को खराब कर देंगे. That's what was mentioned here. Let's go to the other options. This can be one of the answer that we can think about. Let's go to the other options as well. Okay. So as of now I'm talking about B. यहाँ पर मैं इसलिए नहीं बोल रहा thoroughly dependent की बात नहीं कर रहे हम लोग इसकी बात नहीं कर रहे. Humans will become sloths. Will, तुमने भविष्यवाणी कर दी. Human will become sloths. Not necessarily. Very broad. The future of robotics will eradicate the human race. वो क्या बोला? Future will eradicate. Again, eradicate हो ही जाएगी. यहां पर अगर लिखा होता में तब मैं शायद आंसर कर देता. अब स्टूडेंट बोलता है बी में भी तो में नहीं लिखा हुआ, बी में भी तो विल लिखा हुआ है. आप बी को आंसर कैसे मार्क कर सकते हो? Humans will make AI a substitute for their minds. अब वो क्या बोल रहा है? What according to the passage, उसमें लिखा हुआ है will lead us to the upcoming deterioration. According to the passage, upcoming deterioration पे कौन हमें लीड करेगा? जब हम बोलेंगे that humans will be make AI a substitute for their mind, because जब तुम ये कर दोगे तब तुम अपना माइंड यूज करना बंद कर दोगे. जब तुम अपना माइंड यूज करना बंद कर दोगे तुम्हारा डिटीरियोरेशन हो जाएगा. That is what was given in the passage. Okay, let's move to the next. What according to you the tone of the given passage? Guys, now it is very easy for you to decipher what exactly the tone, to make out what exactly is the tone all about. मैंने काफी कुछ बता दिया है. The tone is not necessarily optimistic, obviously. It is not descriptive, no gray area, it's analytical. They are talking about the pros and cons. Analysis कर रहा है, इससे क्या क्या चीजें हो सकती हैं, क्या क्या जगह इफेक्ट पड़ सकता है. The tone is analytical. And the last question, again, as I said, I'm not much interested as of now to, make the answers right, but to understand the logic, the coherency, how the paragraph is basically, author is writing the paragraph, what author wants you to understand, that's what we are talking about. Let's go to the last. What according to the passage can we make the best use of artificial intelligence? And I want all students who are attending this particular video or listening to this particular video should mark the answer correctly. How according to the passage can we make the best use of artificial intelligence? Let's see. By making minimum use of AI, giving more importance to human labor. वो क्या बोल रहा है? Artificial intelligence को बहुत कम कर दो और human labor को बहुत ज्यादा कर दो. Now there is a problem according to the passage. Problem is अगर तुम इसको बोलोगे, there are certain things which computer can do the best, which artificial intelligence can do the best. For example, a Google search engine, right? तुमने इतनी बार उसको कैट का इमेज दिखा दिया, अगली बार जब तुम कैट सर्च कर रहे हो, आपको कैट का इमेज दिखा रहा है. So it's not that you should do a minimum use, because otherwise then you will not be ahead with the times. You are not going in sync with the times. Time is talking about artificial intelligence, but there they mentioned it should not be mindlessly doing. We should not be mindlessly getting into all those things. So that's why this is slightly distorted option. This is slightly distorted option, but let's keep this here. Second, by implementing the artificial intelligence only in the developed country, out of context. Out of context, nowhere given in the passage. Nowhere given in the passage out of context. By not letting the artificial intelligence dominating human intelligence, that can be my answer. इसको human intelligence को dominate मत करने दो, करो, but human intelligence should have the upper hand. And the last is, we should not let the buildings very narrow, out of context. So that's why my answer should be option number C. उनको अपनी औकात में रहने दो. They should not go beyond the औकात of this. So with this, we are coming to the end of this session where we talked about the passages. We have solved, I think, 3 or 4 passages in this particular video. We talked about retention. मैंने बोला था how to approach RC passages, and the idea was retain करो, comprehend करो, passage में मत जाओ और खुश रहो. This is what you need to do. Practice, practice, practice. And right after this video, I want all of you who are listening to this video, please do comment and let me know whether this video was helpful for you or not. And right after this particular video, do attend the quiz section and Telegram के अंदर keep posting your doubts wherever they are. Thank you and keep listening to Ekoching videos.